Thank
My
you.
apologies. Thank you so much, sir. And a big thanks to Endocrine Society of India for organizing such a unique program. I really enjoyed all the previous talks. So much of challenges we have, so much new things I learned from this. In the next 10 minutes or so, I'll be highlighting a bit on post bariatric nutritional deficiency management. This is something really new. I did read a lot of new things about this. This is very important for us clinicians because as surgeons they primarily do the surgical management, and as clinicians we have to take care of the pre-surgery and the post-surgery care, recovery, and long term, and to ensure a good long-term outcomes. And why is it even more important in India? Because the problem of diabetes is huge, especially in sitting in Delhi. This is the CAR study from AIMS. We show that nearly 38% of Delhi population has pre-diabetes and nearly 23 odd has diabetes. Is really acute in urban India. And when we talk of diabetes in northern India, in Delhi specifically, it's almost always diabetes. This is another data from Delhi. In a cohort of more than 5,000 patients, nearly a 68% prevalence of obesity or morbid obesity. And with changing times, I know affordability is an issue, but more and more people are affording, undergoing bariatric surgery. The more and more insurance plans they are covering bariatric surgery. Even in the central government health service, a lot of people are beneficiaries. Bariatric surgery is now included, so more and more patients are undergoing bariatric surgery. In fact, India in absolute numbers ranks in the top four countries in the world in terms of the volumes of bariatric surgery happening across the globe. So we as clinicians, we would be needing more and more experience and knowledge in terms of post bariatric nutritional therapies to improve long-term outcomes. Well, my job here not is to talk of on the types of bariatric surgeries that we all know and we have discussed. Let me start why nutritional supplement is so much more important. Because patient tolerate oral intake so poorly in the initial few days to weeks after bariatric surgery. So if a patient, when we discuss of bariatric surgery, we need to discuss how life is going to be over the period of next weeks to months. It's just like when we talk of insulin pump therapy in a person with type 1 diabetes, not hunky dory. The patient needs to calibrate the device, the needs to be very regular, needs to do a carb counting, do the corrections. It's not like the machine does everything. So the expectation should be very clear to clearly made to the patient how life is going to be after bariatric surgery. So dehydration is very common in the initial few days, the first few days to weeks, because patient tolerates even liquids so poorly, at least the first 48 to 72 hours. Sometimes they have nausea, they have vomiting if they try to take even excess amount of even liquids. So that can also worsen the nutritional deficiencies in them. In infections, fever, and all those things need to be taken in mind. Surgical site infections can really also occur. Electrolyte imbalances we need to take care in the initial few days to weeks after a metabolic surgery. And moving on, I think uh, after the few weeks when the patient has somewhat stabilized, you really don't know how each patient reacts differently to the same procedure. That's very important to keep in mind. And we should also remember typically the malabsorptive procedures, patients need a greater time to rehabilitate as compared to just where we are mechanically restricting the volume of the stomach. So dumping syndrome is the problem. We have the early dumping syndrome, late dumping syndrome. In early dumping syndrome, we have a huge load of glycemia being delivered to the intestine. The patient has reflex symptoms of hypoglycemia, sweating, abdominal cramps, bloating. Here, we need to tell the patients cut down on refined carbs further. If still it's happening, maybe alpha glucosidase inhibitors help in a small number of patients. Patients can develop diarrhea. Patient can, as a part of malabsorption syndrome. So need to highly individualize what sort of nutrition we are giving. So ensuring hydration is very key in the initial periods. Giving small sips of water, even ice chips, just keep in the mouth to keep the mouth wet so that the patient doesn't end up taking too much of liquid. Sometimes makes the life easier. So what happens when we talk of nutritional replacement? The ensure is the patient is takes care of the basic metabolic rate, is taken care of the patient. The weight loss should be very slow and gradual. In the end, we must realize what are we trying to achieve in bariatric surgery. We are trying to achieve a negative energy balance, but we do not want to make the patient malnourished. That is very important, and that negative energy balance needs to be sustained for a long period of time. So the bariatric surgery makes the person less hungry, feels like eating less. But if the patient thinks I'm going to eat normally after a few months of bariatric surgery, trust me, we do have a lot of patients coming back who have put on weight to even weight more than what was their baseline weight before the bariatric surgery in a period of maybe 1 to 2 years, as early as 1 to 2 years after surgery. So the effort needs to be there. Just the surgery makes it a bit easier, or the patient feels less hungry to eat less. So coming to the very fact the patient tolerates oral food poorly, the very fact they'll have some degree of malabsorption, irrespective of what procedure, we need to supplement. The common deficiencies are they have micronutrient deficiencies, they have micromineral deficiencies, both water and fat soluble vitamins they have deficiencies. Iron deficiencies again much more common, and again all these deficiencies are much more common in malabsorptive procedures as compared to restrictive procedures. Calcium deficiency and protein energy malnutrition is very common, especially in the Indian setting, where Indian diet is typically on the baseline very less in protein. As a rule of thumb, when we talk of replacement in patients, we have to keep in mind typically whatever if the are recommended daily around whatever the normal supplement we are giving, we have to give at least the double dose. The rule of thumb, give the double dose in patients with post bariatric surgery to ensure that they are not deficient in their microminerals or vitamins. As a simple thing, if you look at even vitamin D, patients typically would need 300 IUs of vitamin D per day at least to maintain a level more than 30 nanograms per ml. They would need at least 45 to 60 milligrams of elemental iron. So I think so they need a very decent dose of iron. Many of those small preparations, multivitamins that contain small amount of iron, are just not good enough to take care. So a good number of patients will need a dedicated separate iron supplements. Even calcium, I think patient tolerate calcium citrate better. And here also, we need to give good amount of calcium, 600 milligrams equivalent of calcium citrate. That's a pretty large amount. So we need to give, again, in patients with malabsorptive procedures, they will end up needing even a higher dose. So we should not include just giving a blind simple multivitamin is not work. We have to look at the patient. Vitamin A needs to be specifically supplemented in these patients, something which we miss out. Zinc supplementation is very important. That can be cause for refractory diarrhea or loose motion in patients with post bariatric surgeries. So simple things. Moving on from micronutrients, microminerals, and vitamins, maintaining a good hydration, at least 1.5 liters of fluid intake. In Indian summers, you have to take even more. Um, Ensuring that patient takes small, frequent meals, because large meals are just not tolerated, maybe from 4 to 6 meals per day. Ensuring that totally avoid drinking taking high calorie dense foods like fruit juices, absolutely not. That would really worsen the dumping syndrome in a majority of patients. This is a beautiful article I came across in PubMed, published in 2017, which has totally beautifully summarized the nutritional recommendations in adults following bariatric surgery. Most of the material in this presentation I have taken from this article. And then we take care of the symptoms to improve the quality of life. Telling patients small things, eat slowly. People don't know what is defined as slow eating. So we just tell them whatever lump of food you have taken in your mouth, count till 15. Chew it for at least 15 times each bite of food before you swallow it. That's very important. Tell them don't drink a sip of water food. Water food, water food. Strictly no. That increases the bloating, that increases the chances of post meal nausea and vomiting. So, and eat slowly. Each meal duration should be always more than 15 minutes. At least a good 30 minutes you should take. So this small simple numbers would really make the life easier. The patient will tolerate the food so much more better. That would decrease the chance of micronutrient and mineral deficiencies in the long run. At the end of the day, we have to tell you have to modify your life. If you're mentally strong enough to go for to maintain low calorie diet for years, you can lose weight and go for even remission of your diet diabetes, but that doesn't happen practically. Even me myself, after knowing so much, I really find it difficult to control my own diet. So it's not easy, and hence we have bariatric surgery, which works great in a good number of patients. We know a bit of physiology also, how it helps. So we have different diet plans. We have the so-called the Paleolithic diet, the simple low calorie, high protein diet, the low fat diet, to the extreme keto diet. They do have a role, not immediately post bariatric surgery, but beyond 3 to 6 months the patient has stabilized. So ensure that the patient stays in a state of negative calorie balance. They can be a vegan diet, they can be a non-vegetarian diet. So there's a lot of literature available. We need to sit down with the patient to ensure that the patient gets a balanced and nutritious diet, so the benefits of bariatric surgery are prolonged as much as possible. It is not magic. If we don't follow our diet and lifestyle, don't improve our diet and lifestyle, we are going to have failures with bariatric surgery also in the long run. So, and in the end, I think bariatric surgery, when we talk of diabetes, and that does help in reducing the total dose of insulin. People on insulin, many patients go off insulin, many patients even go off OHs. So even without bariatric surgery, also in a patient with a good therapeutic diet and lifestyle changes, with certain medications in diabetes which we are using for weight loss in different permutation and combinations, they can also lead to a good amount of weight loss and the associated metabolic benefits. So I think I would like to end by saying microminerals, micronutrients, and fat soluble vitamin deficiencies are very common post bariatric surgery. All patients need replacement of these items. Typically, the dose of replacement is double the dose, at least the double the dose what we are doing in a routine practice in a patient who has not undergone any sort of bariatric surgery, and the replacement dose are even higher in patients who have undergone malabsorptive surgeries. So, with this, I'd like to end my presentation. Thank you.